refresher on how we multiply fractions. Okay, this page is in your notebook as well. So my top number is my numerator, that represents my part. My denominator is my bottom number, which represents the total or the whole number of pieces, the number of pieces that creates the whole. Okay, and when we multiply two fractions, we're going to multiply straight across. Now this might be slightly different from how you learned it in middle school, but it's important that we differentiate between this and cross multiplication. So do me a favor, stick with me with this one and just multiply straight across. It's very simple. Either top number times top number or numerator times numerator. So in this case, it's going to be 2 times 4, which gives me 8. And denominator times denominator, which is 3 times 5, which gives me 15. Okay, so that's how we multiply fractions. All right, and there's 2 examples here. Okay, so here, 7/8 times 3/4. I'm just going to multiply straight across. 7 times 3 gives me 21. 8 times 4 gives me 32. So 21/32. Okay. Now, number 2 is where we're going to be using this method towards finding the portion of a total distance, and that's taking a fraction times a whole number. Okay, and to do that, all we're going to do is put a 1 underneath my whole number. Okay, because now it's a fraction, because 10 divided by 1, so remember the fraction line can also mean division. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So I'm actually just expanding. I'm rewriting 10 as a fraction. So that way it gives me that denominator, and which then allows me to multiply 5 times something. Because I need my denominator and my 3/5 need something to be multiplied by. And in this case, it's going to be 1. And then 3 times 10 is 30. So what I have is 30 divided by 5, and that gives me 6. Now, some of you may remember how to cross cancel. Okay, and that we can only do this when we're looking at strictly multiplication. And so here, what I did is I technically rewrote 3 times 10 over 5 times 1. Okay, so 3, let me do, hold on one second. Let me do 10 times 3, which still gives me 30. All I'm doing is reversing the numbers. And 5 times 1. Now, if you notice here, I can divide that. That gives me 2. So that's when I say cross cancel, that's what I'm doing. I'm dividing 5 divided by itself is 1. And then 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. So that just leaves me 2 in the numerator over 1, which then gives me 6. And you'll notice both methods give me the correct answer. It's just a matter of preference as to which you prefer. Okay, so this is just a quick reminder on how we multiply whole numbers times fractions. Okay, let me skip down to number 4 here. So again, I'm going to make this whole number 12 a fraction by putting a 1 underneath it. So what I have is 5 divided by 8 times 12 over 1. Okay, now I can multiply straight across, and I'm going to get 8 times 1 is 8, obviously, and 5 times 12 is 60. Now, 8 does not divide evenly into 60. So we would have to reduce that, both divisible by 2. Always start with 2 because they're even numbers. So if I switch my color pen here, if I divide both of these top and bottom by 2, I'm going to get 4 over 30. Okay, and I still have even numbers, so I can divide by 2 again. So this is going to give me 2 out of 15. And now 15 being 2 is a prime number, so this is the simplest form of my answer is 15 halves, which you can leave it like that. You don't have to change it to a mixed number. You don't have to change it to 7.5. You can if you want to, but it's not necessary. But instead of doing your reducing at the end, we can, this is what cross canceling allows us to do. A cross cancel allows us to essentially reduce before we multiply. And again, we're dealing with multiplication and division, so the order doesn't in this particular case matter because we're going to do both anyway. So I know both 12 and 8 are divisible by 4. So if I divide 8 by 4, I'm going to get 2. And if I divide 12 by 4, I'm going to get 3. And if you notice, now what I have is 5 times 3 over 2 times 1, which does give me 15 halves. Okay, again, it doesn't matter which option you use. It's dependent upon what you're most comfortable with. Okay, so that's a quick review on multiplying fractions times a whole number. So now let's go back to